Why did you choose to leave Wyndham? What was the trigger?
There was no trigger. Firstly, there was an opportunity with RG, which is the third largest operator in the country. It was moving back into the managed and the franchise setup, and the company's belief in wanting to grow in this region, right? And I truly believe globally, if there are three markets that are growing, it will be Saudi, India, and Indonesia, at least for the next 7 to 10 years. It's a great time to be in this country and be part of that growth journey of for Bharat, India into the next phase. So that's really why I moved to RG.
So who's your Dimitri's counterpart at RG?
So I report in to Chema, who's the global. And have you met Chema?
No,
Okay,
unfortunately.
I'll introduce you to Chema the next time he's here.
Yeah.
He's the global chief operating officer. So he has 5 area senior vice presidents reporting into him. So I'm one of them.
So you are heading South Asia and...
I'm heading South Asia.
Amazing. So your predecessor was Zubin now. Of course, he's taken over Hilton. Again, a dear friend. Wanted to know from you, what do you think he did right at Radisson? And what do you think you'd like to change to take it to the next level?
I think he did a lot of things right, which is why we are where we are today. And we continue to grow from where he left off, right? A few things that we are doing today at Radisson is really small things, if you ask me. More inclusivity. And I think one of the things that we've done is introduce Braille menus, for example, across our hotels.
Amazing.
It's important to have inclusivity not only for while we speak about DEI and LGBTQ+, as team members and as guests. I think it's also important to make sure that the minorities, people who, have the money, would probably come to a restaurant, but don't feel part of that experience. And at Radisson, we believe every moment matters. So whether you're blind or you can see, at least you should have a menu in the room or in the restaurant. So that's one of the first steps that we've taken. Large focus on bringing some international F&B concepts, because for us, F&B contributes 40-50% of our revenues. So we are looking at bringing a few F&B concepts into the country, which are very, very exciting that we're working on at the moment.
Amazing. Radisson is one of the pioneers. If you think about it, like we've all grown up.
Great kebab factory.
Indian kebab factory, right? It was at the Radisson Mahipalpur, and so it's great to know that Radisson is...
So the galoti kebab was actually invented at Great Kebab Factory.
Amazing.
It didn't exist before that. And today you see galoti at every Indian restaurant, right? So yeah, that was one big piece that RHG gave in the F&B space. But yeah, we're looking at getting a few F&B concepts. Ise Bar, which is a Peruvian Japanese Nikkei cuisine concept. We'll be introducing...
Something like Koya?
Something like that. 300 years, 400 years ago, a lot of Japanese moved to Peru. And there's fusion food of Peruvian Japanese cuisine. And it's just amazing. It just melts in your mouth. You have to taste it to believe it. Shanghai Kitchen, which is, of course, Indians love Chinese food. So Shanghai Kitchen is a concept that we'll be introducing. We're introducing an Indian concept called Governor Saab, which is a more canteen, more in tune with the times, let me just say. So these are a few concepts that we're already looking at launching in the near future, and a few more actually.
So how many rooms in Radisson currently operating?
We have 14,500 rooms operating in India. We'll be 135 hotels by December this year.
So you are the third largest player, I understand, after IHCL and Marriott?
We are the third largest operator. And when you look at international space, because most hotel companies distinguish themselves, so we are the second largest from an international chain operator perspective in this country.
So how is it different running Radisson from Wyndham?
Well, for one, you're back to mainstay managed piece, right? So that's a big difference. But really, running a hotel company is the same.
How many employees in Radisson India?
We employ 18,000 people roughly at the moment.
But at the corporate?
At the corporate, we are about 74 people and growing.
And Wyndham was what, how many, 30?
Wyndham was just under 30. window was just under 30. But there were a lot of different synergies there in the franchise setup, which is fantastic. So, for example, your legal operated in 3 different countries and not physically in this country. Here, the legal is based here. So those are the small differences, which actually leads to, it's not that physically while they were not physically here, they were part of the team, right? So if you start doing apples to apples, it will be probably the same, if not more.
So, one thing which I always, before I deep dive more into your Radisson and where they are at in India, I wanted to understand, there are so many revenue managers in India today. Pretty much every hotel has. And how many branded hotels in India? Let's say, how many branded hotels in India would you say?
How many branded? It's 200,000 rooms. So I'll have to check the number of.
But would be about what? 4,000 hotels?
Yeah.
Approximately, right?
Yeah.
So when you started out as a revenue manager, there were very few in India, at least. Now there must be about 4,000 revenue managers. A lot of them looking up to you and aspiring to be where you are at today. What do you think they should do? Or what do you think they can learn from you?
I won't restrict it only to revenue managers. I mean, I think if I can do it and you can do it, so can a lot of people out there, right? The hunger, the desire to grow, the risk-taking ability. So, and I said it, you need to be uncomfortable, right? And it happened by chance, right? I mean, I was very set at IIG. I was a revenue manager. I could have said no, startup, no guarantee. I took that risk at that point of time. Of course, Lemon Tree is a great success story, but what if it wasn't, right? So that's a risk. What if Ginger wasn't where it is today? It was a risk, leaving a very comfortable, cushy job and moving to a company which could have gone both ways, right? So there've been risks. So I think you have to have the ability to take that risk and believe in it. That's the big piece, if you ask me. And you do it all the time yourself. So I mean, I can't preach to the converted.
So this is amazing. So I think that the risk-taking ability is one thing. The reason I said revenue managers is because you see very few people from revenue background heading the industry. You see a lot of people from F&B and front office and housekeeping who are heading different verticals. Obviously, you also started at front office. Another thing which I wanted to ask you is that apart from just taking risk, what else do you think? Do you think they should do inter-department movements? Do you
Absolutely.
think they should...
Absolutely, Anand. One of the things that, and I was fortunate with Lemon Tree, right? Because as part of a startup, you ended up doing everything, right? I started understanding what an APC is, which I would not have done if I grew naturally in the revenue front office role, right? Or engineering services, or what the GSM should be, or what should the cleaning agent be, right? So that exposure at the unit level, and I'm not saying it needs to be limited to the unit level, as you grow, whether what's happening in sales, what's happening in marketing, what can we do there, business development, all these avenues. It's extremely important for you to move cross departments and get that exposure going, because only then will you grow. While yes, there is the traditional way of growth, my growth is unconventional from that perspective, and I would definitely push people to be more unconventional in their career graph than be more conventional. But that's my personal take, and it's extremely personal.
How important is sales and development in reaching a leadership position?
Extremely important. If there is no sale, there's no company. If there's no marketing, there is no company. If there's no development, there's no company, right? So these functions are core to the business.
So I've heard a lot of stories. The reason I asked this question is because I truly believe that to become a leader, you'll have to learn these two skills. And Patu himself used to go for calls.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
With the team. Vikram was mentioning to me.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that?
Listen, I mean, the tires have to hit the road, right? So, and I said this initially, that he's very hands-on, right? And he continues to be hands-on. So when that company was starting, I was sales calling in Udyog Vihar, in small factories for accounts, and really there wasn't any need at that point of time because the hotel was selling like hotcakes any which way. But we continued to do the groundwork to make sure that there's business that's coming in. We continue to map competition that's coming in. and what are the offerings. So it's important to keep evolving even as a business model, and those learnings of what the other brands are doing, what can we do more, and yeah, you have to be out there. If you're not out there, I mean, you and I are sitting on a Sunday. We would have easily chosen to do this on a weekday, right, during work hours. But yeah, you're out there. You've come all the way from Jaipur, and I appreciate that. But yeah,
Coming back to Radisson, so you are, if you think about it, there's Marriott and there's IHCL, who I think should be significantly larger at the moment in the marriage space in India,
They are.
and Radisson is number 3. So why should I, as an asset owner,
Yeah.
choose Radisson? I will not talk about your previous companies because I won't put you in trouble,
Yeah,
over any other international player.
we are just nice guys to deal with. No, I think the synergy, the branding, the sales and marketing effort that we are putting in, and the technology that RNG today has is really path breaking. I can tell you, since you spoke about revenue management, and I've seen revenue management over the years evolve, right? The tools that RNG has today, hand on heart, no other brand really has the kind of tools that we have today for revenue management. So that's one example that I'm giving you. But similarly, from an RFP perspective, from a distribution perspective, from a connectivity perspective, what we are doing and what we are building is just phenomenal, not only in India, but globally.
So in terms of your business mix for a Radisson hotel, how do you see it? Like, as a owner,
Yeah.
what percentage do I expect? What is the Radisson distribution system called?
It's called EMA,
Emma.
EMA CRS,
Yes.
which is our own CRS tool that we built. And that's why we have the capability of connecting it and making sure the right distribution partners are connecting fast.
What is a CRS for the viewers? Let's dumb it down.
Okay. CRS is Central Reservation System. A Central Reservation System is really a tool where all reservations come in and flow in through to the unit. So it's like a modem. Let me just say that where the internet bandwidth is coming in and it's flowing in to your hotel, or to your room, or to your house. It's exactly what that does.
So basically, all your portals like a Make My Trip, Expedia, your own website,
That's correct.
everything is connected to the CRS, even your CRM, which is your call center. Everything
Yes,
is
everything comes in there and flows to the PMS from there. So it's one switch which passes everything through.
So as a owner, what kind of fees am I paying Radisson?
Very economical. Let me just say it that way.
I'm asking for a ballpark range. I'm not asking for a specific number.
Listen, Anand, I think we are as competitive as other brands. It's case to case dependent. But if we have grown to where we are today, we wouldn't have grown if we were not flexible. And I think one of the advantages that Radisson has is that we are flexible on when it comes to the commercials and when it comes to being more regional in that perspective.
Radisson sells extremely well on OTAs.
Yeah.
Why do you say, why does that happen?
Because it's a name that is recognized in this part of the world. One of the first things that Radisson did right was get into tier 2, tier 3 markets as an international player, which most international players did not initially. Today, you hear of other brands getting into tier 2, tier 3. So the brand recall that Radisson has, for example, in Punjab, we have 14 hotels, right? In NCR, we have 25 hotels.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, right? I mean, so just think about it. It was reverse migration. So if the number of, let's just Punjab as an example, right? The number of Punjabis coming in and going out, see a Radisson globally and see a Radisson in their city, there's brand recall. So yeah, I mean, I think those were the first few steps where Radisson did the right thing, of penetrating the market in places like Jalandhar, where there was no hotel, or Ayodhya, for example. We're the first branded international hotel in Ayodhya. We've had the first mover advantage in many markets, and that's really held us in good stead.
What is the difference between Radisson blue, green, and red? Because for us, Radisson has always been Radisson, and we sort of, all of us have grown up in the Mahipalpur hotel because that was the only good hotel in this part of Delhi at that point of time.
Let me just start with the Park-In and Suites, which is our economy product. Then we have Park-In by Radisson, which is lower end of the mid-scale. You have Radisson, which is mid-scale. Radisson Blue, upper upscale, Radisson, depending on which part of the world you're in, right? And now we've launched Radisson Collection, which is our luxury collection. We've launched it in Srinagar.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Srinagar as a city in the classified keys had 200 keys between the two other branded players. We added 212 keys in the city of Srinagar. So we just doubled the inventory of Srinagar with that hotel opening. So yeah, I mean, so those are the differences. But to your point, we have a Red. Red is a more youthful brand. And we're looking at more Reds in the country because we truly believe that the time for Red has come. It's a millennial Gen Z brand. It's not, it's not, if you know what I mean. And then Radisson is our upscale brand, which is really a hotel, which is catering to the
So can you
mid-scale
give
to
3
upscale.
competitors for each brand?
Yeah, sure. So I would say Red would compete with a Moxie, for example, right? Radisson, and you could really take the gambit in Radisson and say,
Like a Marriott or a Intercon.
no, so I would put that above for a Blue.
Yeah.
But it could be, it could even be a Courtyard in a city to a Fairfield in a city if you were to look at Marriott brands, right? So the range could be different, right?
So Radisson would be Courtyard and Marriott, then Radisson Blue would be...
Yeah, so Radisson Blue is our upper upscale brand. So depending on which, different organizations have different ways of looking at upper upscale and luxury brands. So I would say Blue is really upper upscale, but in this part of the world, it's treated as a luxury product. And then, of course, we have Radisson Collection, which is truly luxury, and we have a few of them at the moment globally, and we're looking at growing that in the right market with the right owners, with the right sites.
So what would be the room to manpower ratio be for Radisson Red and Radisson Collection?
Okay, so for Radisson Red, it would be under 1. So it would be 0.8 to a room. Also, it depends on the F&B facilities, right? So the one we have in Mohali has huge F&B facilities. So then your numbers move in a certain direction because F&B does take, right? For a collection, it would be at least 1.8 to 2.3 depending on the city. So Srinagar, for example, at the moment has a higher count because it's a new hotel in that city, and a lot of it is to do with the F&B focus at that hotel.
Amazing. So as an owner, if I had a piece of land, right?
Yeah.
So and I came to Nikhil and I said that I want to build a Radisson Red. What would my square foot cost be? And what would a cost be in a Radisson Collection? Just for the construction. And what do you think my payback period would be?
Excluding cost of land.
Land, I'm not.
Yeah. It could be anywhere between 50-60 lakhs a key for a Red. For a Radisson, plus minus 10 lakhs, because the cost of construction won't be too different. The elements are different, right? For a Blue could be just about 1 CR, and for a Collection, it'll go to 2 CR.
And what would my payback be on the building?
The payback would depend again on the size of the asset, right?
Let's take a 100-room hotel and let's take a...
I would say EBITDA positive within 2.5-3 months. And depending on the loan that you've taken on the site, the payback could vary. But
a ballpark?
7 years.
7 to 10 years?
Yeah, I would say that.
7 years is very good because typically as an industry standard, it takes 10 years to pay back the building, because in India, as we all know, real estate has a lot of components in it. So tell us about Radisson Individuals.
Yeah.
I think you're growing really fast in that division. And what's the idea behind it?
So Radisson Individual is a soft brand for us. We have 2 soft brands, Radisson Individuals and Radisson Individual Retreats. The objective of these soft brands was to make sure that we get the smaller boutique hotels, which typically can't be hard branded, have a character of their own, have an essence of their own, and are true to the community that they live in, right? So whether a hotel that we open in Javai, for example, where you operate a hotel, can't be a Radisson because it's 40 keys, right? It's a great site. It's a great hotel. We will end up giving it a soft branding and still operate it at our end.
So you are managing the hotel?
So we manage as well in soft rent. We not only franchise, but we manage as well.
That's very different from, let's say, an Autograph or a Tribute of Marriott or other brands. So that's another So one thing which I'm learning from Nikhil in this conversation is when you're talking about Wyndham, he's doing franchising and he's doing an RSO setup where franchise brands did not do that in India. Now, when we are coming to Radisson, Radisson is doing soft brand with management, which is again something which is done rarely in the industry. You're making this also India specific, and I'm really glad that you're doing it because I think that this will take the individual's brand a long way because a lot of Indian asset owners are very, very attached to their name as well. And I think that this is a great sort of a growth strategy.